Alright guys, today we're going to be building the Perfect Green Loadout. Now, it's not quite the ultimate where we have an absolutely unlimited budget, but it is going to be this sort of reasonable over long term, what could you obtain for this perfect, insane green loadout in CS2. So, with that in mind, we're not going to be going for the hedge maze gloves because they're simply too expensive. What we are going to have, though, is Emerald Web. Now, this is going to cost you just over $1,000 for field testing, because yeah, we're avoiding that big jump to the minimal wear as well. And then I've paired it with a CS2 Gamma Doppler knife. Now, I had this in a video recently where I mentioned that the Emerald Webs aren't exactly the right green for the Gamma Dopplers, but it kind of is what it is in CS. Now, this knife is $2,900. You could go alternatively for like a Huntsman or a Bowie Emerald if you wanted to, but I thought going for the big mean blade was going to be the play here. But it does mean this combo cost is almost $4,000, which is kind of crazy. Now, edge-wise on the CT, I do prefer to not have sleeves. I don't want any clash like that, so we are going to go for Lieutenant Rex Crikey. He's about $11 at the time of planning, which was the 18th of February. He is also mostly green as well, so if you care about that side of things, there you go, it fits into the theme. Now, on the USP side of things, I have a monster mashup. Now, I am going to go minimal wear here, which is $33. Personally, I rock it in factory new because there's some scuffs that come through and I want to try to avoid that, but overall, minimal wear is a nice sort of baseline point for picking up a monster mashup. If you're sat there thinking, what the hell, I use a P2K, you're going to go get a turf for 25 cents in minimal wear. It is considerably cheaper, but it actually plays in really nicely with the Emerald Webs. Now, as usual, we're going to have the P250 and the Deagle on CT. You also use them on T-side. We're going to have the See Ya Later for the P250. It comes in just under the $5 mark for minimal wear. It has that exact same vibe as you have with the Monster Mashup. It is a blue base, but then it has a considerable amount of green on top, and that's what we'd love to see. For the Desert Eagle, there's literally only one in the game, so you're going to spend big, but it's going to be worth it because you get an Emerald Yermangander. $350 for factory new, and that's not before you start getting into the overpay for lower folks to get rid of scuffs, or the overpay for the Yermangander heads, because you can get up to 3 on the Deagle at one time. But I think even without those overpay elements, you get a normal one, it looks pretty banging. Now, the dual Berettas for me this time. Normally, I would honestly lean into Royal Consorts, but I want to go a bit different because they've not aged well in CS2, I don't think. I'm going to go for twin turbos instead. $3.24, you can pick these up in minimal wear. There is a considerable amount of green, and there is also white and red, and a little bit of yellow. So, much like we have in other loadout themes, you can always get just a full green skin to pair here. And yes, I'm aware you can get these Emerald Dual Berettas, but for like the $30 mark, I don't think they're worth picking up. So, that's why I'm giving you an alternative pick. For the 5.7, I'm going to go for the Hot Shot, which isn't always my favorite, but field test is just over $3, and being honest, that like bright green that's on it kind of pairs into the green that you get with the Emerald Web. So while the Emerald Web green is clashing in some cases, it's working in others. And then we have the SMG. So Hydra is the absolute no-brainer for the MP9. You are talking $10 for this in minimal wear, but it is an absolutely banging MP9 skin. Now, not everyone uses the MP7, so I tried to keep it cheap and cheerful with the Power Core, which would cost you $1.60 in minimal wear. You can spend a little bit more and get an Empire, which would be closer to the green you have on the gloves, but I think you are talking closer to $3, so it depends how much you want to use an MP7. Then over on the UMP, I think you should be using it in some cases, so we're always going to include a skin for it. We have the plastic. This skin's always been 50-50 for me, but when it comes to a green UMP, it is pretty much the best option outside of diving into that St. Mark collection and paying scary prices. Then we have the XM, and we're also going to have Mag 7 following it, but we have the Watchdog for the XM here. This green is really nice. It's honestly kind of like a carved jade green. And then it's got those bronze accents as well. $1.71 minimal wear. It's got very nice value for money. And then on the Mag 7 side of things, we're actually going to go for one of the new additions to the game. It's going to be the Wildwood, which is 21 cents in minimal wear. Now, I know Anomaly loves this skin. Me, when it first came out, I wasn't too sure. But it is actually the only really sort of reasonably priced green in Mag 7, so we're going to run with it. Now, over on the M4s, I've covered this recently, that there's a bit of a lack of options, and with that, I'm actually going to pick the Infosaurus S as my green M4A1S here. It's only $1 in minimal wear. The other option is a Moss Quartz, which is $62 in factory new, or paying $150 plus for a print stream and then having to put a green craft on top. So, for the sake of it, until Valve give us something better, given please fix it, we're going to be rocking the Infosaurus S. And thankfully, the in-living color, while it is a lot of mixed colors, it does have a significant amount of green, and it's green that you can see here actually kind of pairs in with the emerald web. So if you put the right sticker craft on this, it's got green elements through it. Although it's not just like a full emerald M4, it's actually going to look pretty good. And then what definitely looks good is the op, because we have the containment breach, and we've discussed before how the green on the emerald web is very similar to the green on the containment breach, which makes it an absolute perfect pair. If you're an opper and you can run this combination, and what I will say, I think it's the Furia Antwerp Hollow on the scope, looks absolutely amazing with those hints of green through it, and that is just a hanging skin if you are an opper. On the FAMAS, you have one option, and it's the Meow 36. It's 9 cent in minimal wear. Job's done. Hopefully we get more options in the future. And then, on the AUG, I've gone for the Carved Jade here. I've gone for it in Souvenir, which in fact in here would cost you $6. I would recommend that you scrape the stickers so you get the full green, but it does wear badly. You can see exactly where those scuffs are going to come through. You need to go well into 00, sometimes 000 floats to get rid of it properly, so you probably just have to deal with it, and maybe you put some stickers over the top. Now, as we move to the T side, we don't have an agent that's got like green sleeves or green accents, so what you want to do is pick an agent whose sort of accent colors will pair with the green. So I think gold works really well for that, so we're going to go for Bloody Doll the Strap, who for some reason is not appearing on screen now. But it is this guy, if you're wondering, who is the agent I actually use myself, and he's about $30 at the time of planning. Now, much like the knife, for the Glock, we are going to go Gamma Doppler, but we're going to go CS2 again, because when we're talking this perfect loadout, now just to give some context on my choices, my ultimate loadout was absolutely unlimited. We could spend 20k, 30k, 40k, whatever. For the perfect loadouts, I've been trying to come between that $3,000 and the $5,000 mark, because I think that's like an honest, sort of reasonable, if someone played the game for 5 years, or they had money to put into it, that's kind of like the max loadout they could build, be comfortable, but not worry about having too much committed to the game. So CS2 Gamma Doppler for $84 is going to be my pick for the Glock. Then we get to go cheap and cheerful for the Type 9. We got a nice little bamboozle coming in here, 93 cent for this in minimal wear. I love the skin. I love the fact it actually looks like a bamboo, like shoot, stick, whatever, the whole way down it. Nice skin. And then, if you are a ZZ enjoyer, and I know there's still some of us out there, I'm going to suggest you go and get the Eco. It's only $1.40. It's not really breaking the bank when the loadout is already this expensive, and it fits in pretty damn nicely with the gloves. And then we have 3 SMGs that weren't used on the CT side. First up, Mac 10, we're going to go Nuclear Garden. This is also an option for the Glock, but I think the CS2 does win out, despite the fact that the Nuclear Garden looks really nicely with the gloves. And then on the PP Bison, if you are rocking one, it should be the Fuel Rod, $1.18 for minimal wear. I had one in my loadout. I think I still actually have one in my loadout, actually, from when I was running Nox and Emerald. And what I just love is that nuclear green magazine for the reload. It's just kind of funny. And then for the run and gun P90, we're going to have the Grim, which is super cheap at 13 cent. And it's basically meant to be like a Grim Reaper. And while it's not quite, I wish the base was more like a matte black finish, and then the green can stand out more. For the money you're paying, it is a really nice skin. Over in the Gale, there was a world where I picked Eco as well here, but I think the new edition, the Envy, is actually quite a nice pick. It has maybe not as much green accents as some people would like, but for me, I think there's definitely plenty there with those sort of like, it's almost like the effect the Shattered guns have, where it's like this black and grey geometric sort of pattern on it. And I think the green accents stand out enough, especially if you were to craft on it, and those green accents pair really nicely in with the gloves. Again, one of the few times where that off green of the emerald webs actually pairs. Now for the AK, where we have 3 options, and they get more expensive as we go. The first one is the Neon Revolution. While the likes of the Green Outsiders AK exist, I don't think it's the right pairing with the Emerald Web. So I think you should look at spending $34 for a minimal wear Neon Revolution. While there is a lot of pink, it does have green on it, and green stickers on top of it actually look really good. So that's what you're going to have to bear with me for, because outside of the Outsiders, I don't really think there's another nice value for money, cheap green AK. If you wanted to go for an upgrade, you could look at an $800 budget and pick up a field tested Fire Serpent. Now, a lot of people might wonder why I'm not saying hydroponic. It's talking 900, 950 plus for field tested, and it wears much worse. So that's why I'm going to lean into the Fire Serpent. And then if you wanted to go higher than that again, Wild Lotus in Battle Scarred would cost you $3,000. Now, it retains a lot of the artwork, but it does start to get a lot of scuffs coming through, especially as you look down the gun. So if you wanted to get this for the sake of flexing a wild Lotus, you can, but it is a pricey pickup for a Battle Scar skin. And then over on the Scout, you want to go Acid Fade, another green that with the Emerald Webs, you're absolutely cooking. It's $1 max for factory new. It does have different fade percentages, and that's what I always try to have people aware of, if I can find where my Scout is, because mine is like a 94.6, and you can see the green goes significantly more down the weapon. And then, while the SG isn't used much, we want to get a skin in there, and for under $1, we can pick up a Dragon Tech in minimum wear, which is pretty sweet, which means the total loadout cost. If you went for the Neon Revolution, you're going to be talking a $4,674 loadout. So we do manage to come in under that $5,000 mark. We will exceed the $5,000 mark when we go to the Fire Sword bin, because you're talking $5,474 at that point. And then we kind of just take the piss with the budget because we exceed $7,500 once we add the Wild Lotus. And now I really want to know your guys' thoughts of this loadout. Now I really want to know what your guys' thoughts are with this loadout. I tried to sort of prioritize the budget into knife, glove, and key weapon skins, but for me, we still end up with like not perfect options. And when you're spending anywhere between $4,600 over to $7,500, I do think some of the other color options get you better offerings overall. But you guys can let me know your thoughts on that, and if you enjoyed the video down below. I want to say a big thank you to the YouTube members who continue to support the channel. It is greatly appreciated, and we're going to be doing some more member related stuff in the very near future. Outside that one, hit the like button if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you're around here, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.